Breaking news: 18 people have been killed as missile strike Ukrainian cities. Guys, remember that Russia and Ukraine have been in a very big dispute. And imagine putting your children or your family to bed for night rest and waking up to a long day chaos, believing the night will be peaceful. But no, Russia decided to make the night unpeaceful. In fact, restless for the people of Ukraine. So the news added that families settle into the apartment, parents prepare for the next morning, children fall asleep, and then suddenly the silence is even shattered. Like all those night peaceful times was totally shattered. Sirens were high to sounds, explosions near the buildings and residential areas. It was roaring through the darkness. Like buildings shake violently. Houses were being brought down to rubble. Gas explosions, missile and drone strike residential neighborhoods. But the question here is, even if the government is having issues, shouldn't it be the military quarters that should be struck by all these missiles? Does it have to affect the citizens? Like, according to reports, according to Ukrainian authorities, Russia launched a large-scale attack targeting several areas across the country. Cities in this area were affected. The hardest hit locations were the cities of Ukraine, like the Kyiv and Dnipro. These places were affected by the strikes and drones that were sent across by the Russians. So as the sun rose the following morning, the scale of destructions became clear. People started seeing things that were destroyed as a result of strikes that came from Russia. So Kyiv was part of the people that suffered this drone strike. Dnipro suffered as well. Rescue team rushed from offices from one damaged buildings to another. Houses were already broken, walls damaged, cracked walls, houses taken down, apartment blocks have been heavily damaged, but authorities still have to come. Vehicles were crushed beneath debris. Imagine people parking their vehicles in a compound and then all of the sudden, out of the blues, something just strike and then destroy many things. People's windows, house doors were blown out of the entire neighborhoods. In fact, to a very different location. Emergency workers still have to search desperately for survivors, people who survived and trapped beneath those collapsed concrete buildings and even twisted metals. So the situations were quickly tragic. Honestly, in Kyiv, the situation is very, very tragic. But, where additional strikes reportedly hit civilians, the civilian areas leaving destructions in their wake. I don't know, but as rescue operations continues, authorities began releasing casualty figures. 12 people were reportedly killed in Dnipro, and while another 6 lost lives, which happened in Kyiv, bringing the total death roll to 18, and that is massive. You can imagine what took 18 lives. It's not a joke. Among the victims were 2 children who were lost as a result of that. One was 8 years old child whose life was cut short, as a result of strike. Before even reaching adulthood, a child was gone. Nobody is actually in a very big support of what is happening. War is never something children should actually witness. War is not even what children will pray to see. But this has become the reality of Russians and Ukrainians. Guys, this is exhausting. News of children's dying every day quickly spreads across social media. People are so restless. Social medias are lamenting. People are lamenting on the media, and even international news still carries it. International news outlets becoming a very painful symbol of human cost of this ongoing war happening between Russia and Ukraine. In Dnipro, guys, rescuers managed to pull a woman alive from underneath the wreckage of a collapsed structure. Imagine a house falling and somebody is under blocks and zincs. Like after hours trapped beneath those debris, somebody was rescued. She was actually finally brought out to safety after exhausted hours of searching. So for exhausted rescue workers and worried families, it was a rare moment of hope, because or almost everybody would have lost hope amid the overwhelming tragedy. Almost everyone would have lost hope that this person wouldn't even, survive the next minute. Emergency crews continued working around the clock, continued working so hard, knowing that every minute could actually mean a difference between life and death for anyone still trapped under those debris. Guys, this attack came from Russia, and it was a very significant, let me say, it caused a significant damage to the people of Ukraine, causing damage to civilian structures, infrastructures. Reports even indicated that residential buildings, kitchens, medical clinics, houses, schools were still affected. Vehicles and other non-military facilities were struck during these assaults. Of course, these assaults. Images from even aftermath showed shattered apartments, burnt out buildings and cars, even emergency personnel navigating mountains of debris. Of course, there are still many people that will still be investigated and still be found under those buildings. Ukrainian officials argued that civilian areas had once again been hit severely, and even pointing to damage inflicted on homes. Damages that have been inflicted on medical facilities is so severe to a point that many health facilities and medical facilities could no longer be used. Russia has frequently stated its military operations targeted strategic and military-related objectives, but that is not what we are seeing in Russia. Those houses and buildings and civilian properties are being damaged, and those things are not even military facilities. Ukrainian authorities maintain the residential neighborhoods and even civilian infrastructures continues to bear the consequences of many of these strikes. So the Russians might have been assuming that the militaries from Ukraine might have been hiding in the civilian neighborhoods, like all those places where civilians are staying. All these soldiers might be hiding in those areas, and could that be their major reason why they are striking civilian homes? The war, which has lasted for years, has repeatedly transformed ordinary homes into disaster homes, into disaster zones, and even forced millions of civilians to live with uncertainty, fear. Like, so many people have eventually left their homes to faraway countries where they can find peace, because as it stands, it looks like there is no peace anymore in Ukraine. So many people have lost their loved ones, families who have lost their homes, people who have lost their wives, children, and family. It's exhausting. I think the world should look into this matter to know exactly how to handle this issue to avoid further escalations, problems, and more issues and damages. So for more news and information, kindly stay tuned on this page. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll keep you updated from different parts of the world. Stay tuned.